Some kids dream about toys. These kids rewrote math, music, and languages before they even hit puberty. Today we're talking about 5 children so smart, so absurdly ahead of their time, that adults didn't know whether to celebrate them or fear them. I've included timestamps in the description so you can skip to whoever interests you the most. Let's get into it. Most child prodigies get praised. Blaise Pascal got banned. His father, a government tax official, believed serious math was dangerous for a developing mind. So he banned equations, geometry, proofs, all of it, which of course made Blaise want it more. One night, his father came home to find the boy sitting on the floor, drawing shapes with a piece of charcoal, not circles and triangles, but advanced geometric constructions. Blaise had rediscovered Euclidean geometry by himself. No books, no tutor, just pure intuition. At age 11, he wrote a complete proof of one of Euclid's theorems, something most adults struggled with. At 16, he published a paper so brilliant that mathematicians refused to believe a teenager wrote it. They thought it was his father using a fake name. It wasn't. Later, Pascal invented the world's first functioning calculator. Before he even turned 20, a boy who wasn't allowed to study math ended up pushing the field forward by a century. If Hamilton were born today, he'd be labeled gifted. Back then, people weren't sure if he was a child or a machine. By age 5, William spoke English, Latin, and Greek, but he didn't stop. He wanted every language he could find: Arabic, Hebrew, Persian, Sanskrit, Syriac, Hindustani. By age 13, he fluently spoke 13 languages, many of them ancient or obscure. His uncle would introduce him at gatherings like a party trick. "I'd like you to meet my nephew. Ask him anything, in any language." And William always answered. But while everyone focused on his languages, something else was happening. He was developing a new way to think about math. He began seeing numbers as objects that could rotate, twist, and move through space. This led to quaternions, a system so ahead of its time that physicists today still use it for 3D rotations, computer graphics, and spacecraft navigation. And the breakthrough came to him not as an adult researcher, but as a teenager walking across a bridge. Most math students read textbooks. Ramanujan rewrote them. Growing up in poverty in India, he barely had access to paper, let alone proper teaching. Then at 16, he found a single math book, a basic one, and used it to rebuild entire branches of mathematics from scratch. He filled notebook after notebook with formulas no one had ever seen. Some came to him in dreams. He said a goddess showed him patterns and equations in his sleep. When he mailed his work to Cambridge, most professors ignored him. His handwriting was messy, there were no proofs, and the formulas looked impossible, except one professor, G.H. Hardy, took a gamble and checked them. What he found shocked him. Ramanujan's dream formulas turned out to be real, groundbreaking mathematics. Some of them weren't fully understood until 100 years later, using modern computers. The world had discovered a genius who didn't learn math. He absorbed it. Gauss wasn't a child who learned math. He was a child who seemed to remember it from a past life. He was born into poverty. His father was a strict, hard-edged laborer who didn't believe in pampering children, especially not with education. But Gauss didn't need help. Numbers came to him naturally. The most famous story happened when he was 3. His father was sitting at the table, carefully adding up a long list of wages he owed workers. It was exhausting, repetitive work. Little Carl walked over, peeked at the numbers, and said quietly, "You've made a mistake." And before his father could scold him, Gauss gave the exact correct total instantly. His father nearly fell out of his chair. At school, it got even more absurd. When Gauss was 7, his teacher, Büttner, who hated noise from students, gave the class a busy work problem: add every number from 1 to 100. He expected them to be quiet for an hour. Gauss solved it in seconds. He didn't add the numbers one by one. He saw a pattern in his mind. Perfect pairs. 1 plus 100 equals 112 plus 99 equals 113 plus 98 equals 101. 50 pairs of 101. Gauss walked to the teacher's desk, placed down the answer, 5050, and sat back down. The teacher thought he was being a smart aleck until the entire class struggled for the next hour and every single student got it wrong except Gauss. From there, his abilities only escalated. At 15, he discovered a mathematical law about prime numbers that shocked professional mathematicians. At 18, he proved a geometry theorem that had gone unsolved for over 2,000 years, something the ancient Greeks couldn't do. At 24, he wrote a book so far ahead of its time that mathematicians refer to it as the Bible of number theory. Today, Gauss is called the Prince of Mathematicians, but long before that, he was just a toddler who couldn't stop correcting adults. If Mozart had lived today, scientists would be scanning his brain trying to figure out how it worked. His father, Leopold Mozart, was a strict and brilliant music teacher. He trained Mozart and his sister Nannerl from infancy, but even Leopold admitted something strange: "I taught him the notes, but the genius, that wasn't mine." By age 4, Mozart was playing complex pieces most adults couldn't touch. By 5, he was composing original music, not nursery rhymes, real, structured compositions. His memory was what scared people. It wasn't just good, it was superhuman. One of the most famous stories happened when he visited the Vatican as a teenager. There was a legendary piece of music called Miserere by Allegri. The church treated it like a sacred relic. It was forbidden to copy, forbidden to publish, and only performed inside the Sistine Chapel. People believed it was impossible to memorize. Mozart heard it once, one performance, no sheet music, nothing to take home. He walked back to his lodgings, sat down, and wrote the entire thing from memory, every part, every harmony, every note. Word spread so fast that Vatican officials panicked. They thought he smuggled out a stolen manuscript, but when they questioned him, they realized he didn't steal the music. He stored it. As a child, Mozart performed blindfolded. He performed backwards. He could improvise full symphonies on the spot, something even legendary adult composers couldn't do. When he toured Europe, royalty treated him like a phenomenon. In London, scientists at the Royal Society examined him as if he were a specimen. They couldn't explain him. Mozart didn't just create music, he seemed to channel it. He didn't hear melodies, he heard entire worlds, and he began doing it before he could even write his own name. And that's our list for today, 5 kids who didn't wait to grow up before changing the world or confusing the adults around them. If you enjoyed this kind of deep dive into the stranger side of history, be sure to subscribe and stick around. We've got a lot more coming. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.